For many years, this gravesite behind me was considered to be the final resting place of the Anjin-san, William Adams. The tower on the right is for Adams, whereas the tower on the left is for his wife, Oyuki. Yet, the Anjin-san did not die here. He died far away on the other side of Japan, in northern Kyushu, in the old trading post of Hirado. So why is this gravesite behind me? There are tales of the Anjin's faithful vassals running quietly by night with his bones from Hirado back here for burial in accordance with his will. So are his remains buried beneath the gravesite behind me? In short, no. In 1906, this gravesite was dug up and it was found that no remains were there. So why is there an empty grave to the Anjin-san, William Adams, still here at the top of this hill in Tsukayama Park, Hemi, today? Well, the hint is in the name. Many years before his death, William Adams had undergone a transformation. He had become Miura Anjin, a naturalized Japanese, Lord of Miura. This great honor was bestowed upon him due to great services rendered to the supreme military ruler, Shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu. The two men had taken a liking to each other and had formed a bond of friendship. During Adams' many years in Japan, Shogun Ieyasu had gained immense knowledge about contemporary world affairs, as well as advances in science, geography, navigation, shipbuilding, mathematics, and gunnery. This knowledge was of immense value to the Shogun, for prior to Adams' arrival, the majority of knowledge of the outside world beyond Asia came to Japan via Spain and Portugal. The Spanish and Portuguese were very keen on converting the Japanese population to Catholicism, as well as reaping huge rewards by monopolizing very lucrative trade between Japan, China, and Southeast Asia. Therefore, the Spanish and Portuguese only revealed very little information and only what served in their own best interests. Adams, being English and pilot of a Dutch ship, was a natural buffer against the Portuguese and the Spanish. He also had a tendency to tell the truth, whereas the Spanish and Portuguese had proven duplicitous, scheming, and conniving to their own ends. Adams' honesty was refreshing to the Shogun and was well respected. Furthermore, Tokugawa Ieyasu recognized Adams' immense value. Ieyasu was in the process of solidifying his control over the entire nation of Japan, unifying it from years of civil war. Adams' revelations helped him in deciding his religious and diplomatic policies. Hence, the Shogun was lavish in his gifts to the Anjin-san, on the one hand to reward such invaluable information, and on the other to make life so comfortable for the pilot he would never want to leave. For prior to this, Adams had made repeated requests to leave Japan and head home for England to see his English wife and children. However, Ieyasu had denied every request. He knew that Adams was far too valuable to lose. The journey was long and perilous, and there was every chance the Anjin-san would never return to Japan. Tokugawa Ieyasu knew that he couldn't extinguish all hope for Adams. Therefore, he requested the pilot build a small ship. Adams had studied shipbuilding under the shipwright Nicholas Dickens in his youth, yet he had never actually built one from scratch. Nevertheless, he endeavored and was successful building an 80-ton ship at the first attempt. Impressed by this achievement, the Shogun provided Adams with many gifts and rewards. The fief of Hemi was one such reward. Set within the boundaries of present-day Yokosuka, home to the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet, Adams was provided with 80 to 90 husbandmen, essentially slaves or servants, and an estate valued at 250 koku, with 1 koku being the measurement of rice required for one man to survive 1 year. Tokugawa Ieyasu chose Hemi for Adams' fiefdom specifically because it was close to Uraga. Uraga was a deep, natural port on the entrance to Edo Bay, leading to Shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu's imperial capital of Edo. It was also the only trading port on the eastern side of Japan. The vast majority were on the west coast of Kyushu, due to the close proximity to the markets of China, Southeast Asia, and Korea. Shogun Ieyasu's power base, however, was in the east. Therefore, he decided to set up Anjin's fiefdom at Hemi, near Uraga, and even entertained the idea of founding a modern navy along the lines of the European powers, of which Adams would be in charge, based out of Uraga. Along with the fief, Adams was also anointed Hatamoto, the samurai rank of bannerman, a highly prestigious position of direct retainer to the shogun. He was the first foreigner to ever be bestowed such a high rank. Adams' new position also gave him the means to marry Oyuki. Oyuki was the adopted daughter of Nagome Kagi, a highway official on one of the pack horse exchanges on one of the great imperial roads that led out of Edo. However, Oyuki was not of noble birth, nor high social standing. Therefore, Adams may have married out of affection rather than social reasons. Which leads us to why these stone monuments are behind me. In 1616, Shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu died. His death was a great weight on Adams. The European-style navy, of which Adams would have been at the head, never came to fruition. Rather, for the final 3 years of Ieyasu's life, Adams had tried, in vain, to help the English East India Company establish a trading outpost in Japan. On a voyage to Southeast Asia for the English East India Company, Adams contracted a tropical disease, likely to have been malaria, and unfortunately died upon his return to Japan on May 16, 1620. He was 55. However, Adams did not die at his Hemi estate, surrounded by his wife Oyuki and his children Joseph and Susanna. Rather, he died far away in western Japan, at the location of the English East India Company factory in Hirado. Recent excavations by scientists, historians, and the William Adams Club in Hirado prove that the bones located at that gravesite are beyond a reasonable doubt Adams's. Therefore, this gravesite in Tsukayama Park, at the top of Hemi Hill, was erected in Adams' name and memory and in accordance with his will. There are conflicting stories about who ordered it to be built. Some say it was his wife Oyuki, while others claim it was his son Joseph. I tend to believe that it was his son Joseph, for even though there was increasing foreign restrictions imposed by Tokugawa Ieyasu's son and heir, Shogun Hidetada, this new shogun did pass on the rights of Hatamoto to Joseph and the attendant rights to the estate of Hemi. Therefore, as Adams' only male heir and son, and rightful inheritor of the Hatamoto status, it would fall on his shoulders to revere his father. Unfortunately, due to the closing of Japan from foreign influence in the 1630s by Shogun Hidetada's son, Shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu's grandson, Shogun Iemitsu, Adams' children by Oyuki, Joseph and Susanna, fell from recorded history. Unfortunately, so too did Adams. Although there are records of the Anjin-san's faithful carrying out celebrations in his honor in both Hemi and Anjincho, Edo, some 200 years after his death, his history was largely forgotten, and so too was this gravesite. This was until 1853, when American Commodore Perry sailed his 4 black ships to Japan and through gunboat diplomacy forced the country to enter into trade with the wider world. Soon, traders, missionaries, diplomats, and military men flooded into Yokohama port and soon began hearing tales of an Englishman some 250 years before who had not only successfully navigated to Japan, but had also thrived and become samurai. In 1872, a trader named James Walters began asking the local Japanese population about information regarding the Anjin-san. He discovered that William Adams had lived in a small village called Hemi, not too far from Tokyo and Yokohama, and relics of his were still in the possession of Jodoji Temple, which had been Adams' local family temple. Excited, Walters traveled to Jodoji, and the high priest took him to the top of this hill and showed him the gravesite of the Anjin-san. Unfortunately, the dilapidated state of the gravesite saddened Walters, and in 1874 he began work to restore it. First, Zenroku Anzai, a local resident of Hemi, spent his own money to build a stone plinth around the obelisk. Then, in 1888, the area around the monument and the steps up to the mound were paved with stone. Iron railings were added soon after, along with this pair of stone lanterns. The lanterns were dedicated by the people of Anjincho in Nihonbashi, the location of another of Adams' estates in Edo, present-day Tokyo. The entire area was designated a historic site by the Ministry of Home Affairs in 1923 under the Act of Preservation of Historic Monuments, and until 1935 a Miura Anjin Festival was held annually at the park. After the conclusion of the Second World War, it restarted in 1948 and now occurs every April during the cherry blossom season. In accordance with his will, Adam's memorial was placed here with great honor, his last words etched into his tombstone. Having in my wanderings come to this land, I have until now lived in comfort and plenty, thanks entirely to the favor of the Tokugawa Shogun. Be so good as to bury me on the summit of Hemi Hill, making my grave face to the east, so that I may thus behold Edo. My soul, being in the underworld, shall ever have in protection this capital city. And thus, to this day, this gravesite still honors the memory of William Adams, the English samurai. And even though his bones are not contained within, some 400 years after his death, the spirit of his memory still watches over the entrance to Edo Bay, still guards Tokugawa Ieyasu's imperial capital of Edo, and his extraordinary achievements still echo into eternity.